So you have the macro side, which is 90 to 92% strict, tracked, precise, data-driven, right? So we have reliable results. And then you have the intuitive part, which is the remaining 8 to 10%, which is flexible, completely untracked, and relying on entirely intuitive skills and habits, okay? So most people, they'll go 80-20. That's like a classic. 80-20 is great if you want to go from fit, or if you want to go from fat to fit. So if you just want to get healthy and you're too fat, that'll work great. You don't actually need to track your nutrition. I think a lot of people say you definitely need to track your nutrition. You don't. But for the people that I work with primarily, if you want to look great, if you really want elite results and you want to actually look like you train, and you want to walk into a room and people be like, wow, that person definitely works out, you're going to have to track your nutrition. Otherwise, you're going to be guessing. You're going to waste a ton of time, which is 99% of people's problems, right? They end up not using reliable systems at all. So this is designed to basically take like the reliable side of the objective world of macro tracking and blend it with the best aspects of the intuitive side. Instead of ignoring one or the other, we just blend them, okay? So I've found, just from working with over 500 clients at this point, as well as perfecting this and refining this and testing this on myself over and over and over again, I found 90 to 92% macro and measured, and then combining that with 8 to 10% intuitive. This is the best blend when it comes to a fat loss phase specifically. Okay, so if you're in a maintenance phase, just assume that this can change a little bit, and typically does. We might move actually a little bit more to 80-20 in a maintenance phase, depending on each person's goals, preferences, various other things as well. So as far as the macro side goes, here's what it basically is, right? So personalized macros are a simple meal plan. It's going to be one or the other. So in most cases, especially if you're a client of mine early on in the process, then you're going to typically get a meal plan, okay? Meal plan's best because, in this case, because it takes out all the thinking. It's just 100 grams of rice, take it, put it on the scale, put it in the bowl, done, right? As opposed to having to take it, track it, make sure it's the right one, make sure it's cooked or raw, then open up calorie tracking app, make sure it's the right serving size, and see how much carbs you have left. Oh, that's too much, got to take out some. So macros are more of a headache. Now, they're not bad, they're just more of a headache early on. So we want to remove as much friction as possible. We want this system to be as streamlined, as simple to execute as possible, okay? So what we do is we lean into a meal plan early. But these are the two viable options. Typically down the road, later in the journey, with each client, I will move into a macro-based approach at some point just to learn those skills. It doesn't mean we always need to track macros. In fact, I track macros, but I basically eat a meal plan because I'm eating the same meals every day. But I still track my macros, so it gives me a little bit of flexibility if I want to move something around a little bit. But I do very little of that. I'm typically eating the exact same meals every day for weeks on end. And then I make small tweaks here and there, maybe every few weeks or every couple months. The key with the macro side, because it's the reliable, objective, kind of data-driven side, is we need to weigh and track everything to the gram. So there's no winging it or habit-based approach or intuitive side to this. That's for down here. This is entirely on the other end of the spectrum by design. So everything must be weighed and tracked to the gram so that we have reliability, so that we have data to inform decision making, okay? There's no gray area here. So it's precise, and binary execution will actually deliver predictable and reliable results, which is the whole point of what we're trying to get here, okay? Now, let's move into the intuitive side. So this is less objective, more subjective. And this is equally as important. Most people will poo-poo one side of these, right? They'll like I said, they'll either swing so far on the one side and they'll throw stones at the other one, and then they'll swing over here and they'll throw stones at the other one. I think both have their purpose in place. I think most people just misuse them. But both sides have tools and have benefits that we can take. So that's what the MacroIntuitive Protocol is designed to do, is take the best aspects of both and ignore and get rid of all the aspects that are unhelpful or unuseful. So intuitive side, this ends up being 8 to 10% flexible. Why? Because it's about 2 free meals, 2 untracked meals per week, okay? Now, if you're eating 3 to 4 times per day, this is around 8 to 10%. So that's why I say that, because it could be more depending on how many meals like you actually end up eating. Like maybe you eat 5 times a day, maybe you eat 3 times a day, right? That would change that percentage. But across the actual the actual calories per day, it's going to end up being, per week, it's going to end up being 8 to 10% of those total calories across a 7-day period, okay? I call these free meals. They're completely off plan. They're untracked. Now, when we call them off plan, they're off meal plan, but they are within the overall plan as per the protocol. This is part of the overall plan. Okay. Now that's why I say these are not cheat meals. A lot of people will call these cheat meals. Traditionally in the industry, this is very, very common. I hate that because the cheat meals, it might seem like semantics, but in my opinion, words are powerful, and these will inform your subconscious and beliefs around this. So the cheat meals will imply that you are cheating. It's in the word. It will imply that you are going off plan. And what that will do is that will trigger for a lot of people a completely unhelpful, hedonistic, overindulgent way of behaving. And that relationship with food is not conducive for long-term sustainability, longevity, or the look that you want. So forget about even health or how you feel. You won't look good either in most cases. So I don't like this because what we end up doing is we end up like flipping between like completely off the rails and then being like, okay, back on track. And I don't like that. I look at it like whether we're tracking our food or we're eating intuitively, we are always on track. I don't like this idea of like cheat meals implying that we're off track and then we're on track with macros and we're on plan here and off plan here. I realize I call these like off plan meals, but they're all within the plan, right? Free meals are all within the plan. So that's why I call them free meals. I think that's important. With these meals, you're going to practice intuitive eating skills, like I said, and learning how to make food decisions on the fly, because you'll be like, oh crap, what do I do? I didn't plan for this, or whatever. Life will punch you in the face. So this is really good for that. It's very uncomfortable for a lot of people because they want everything to be perfect. But if you need everything to be perfect in order for you to win, you're not going to make it. Straight up. It's the brutal truth. So you need to be able to learn how to do this. This also allows us to have strategic spots in the plan while making amazing results and making great progress each week. We can leave spots for enjoying restaurants, travel, social events, holidays without actually worrying about falling off track, which most people do. My clients will, you might even be watching this and have told me this, when you're starting out, it's like, oh no, I have a trip coming up. Should I just wait until after the trip? Bad idea. You're never getting that time back. The people assume that like when you're on a plan, okay, my environment needs to be perfect. It's like, if you're waiting for perfect, good luck. And also, even if you did get perfect and then you're like awesome, okay, best case scenario, life is perfect, which doesn't exist, but it happens. You're like, I'm going to start my fitness goals. Okay, then you're successful, awesome, I guess. But then what happens when life punches you in the face? You didn't plan for this, you didn't develop any skills, you have no resilience around this, no systems, no habits. So actually you should want the opposite. You should actually kind of want an environment that's a little rough and a little kind of uncomfortable and hard to deal with, because then you're going to learn the best skills and you're going to get a ton of confidence as well, that you're like, I can handle anything that life throws at me. I'm not worried. I don't need perfect like I used to. And I got no concern or anxiety around maintaining my physique now, which most people do, right? They get great results and they're like, oh my goodness, now it's like so exhausting trying to keep this. It's like, that is no way to live. So in these intuitive meals, you're going to build skills for long-term maintenance as well that can last decades. So I look at these as like they are deposits, they're investments that you're paying that will pay you dividends down the road. So if you skip these, you eventually will pay the bill, or you'll pay the piper down the road. It's kind of like not planning for retirement, I guess, for the analogy. If assuming you're alive, you're going to be 65, and if you have $0, you're going to be in a situation where you go, oh no, well, I enjoyed life earlier, but I'm kind of stressed now. So yeah, you got to pay the piper now. So I kind of look at this like we are planning for the future you with these meals as well. Because most people will be like, just think about it like this, and this is true. Most people will be like, well, can't I just follow a strict meal plan and see the same or better results? The answer is yes. But the problem is inevitably you get to the end of your goal. You get to a place where you're successful and you get the results you want. And then you go, okay, well, now what do I do? Well, you're going to have to transition into probably not doing a meal plan, or at least not as strict. And you need to eat more food and you need to pivot into normal life and normal living. How are you going to do that if you never developed any of those skills, right? You're going to have social events. You're going to have travel. You're going to have the in-laws come over unannounced. You're going to go over to the in-laws announced, and you're going to bring cookies, or they're going to bring cookies, or someone's going to, like, there's life. And how, you go out to dinner with a coworker, a client, or you got to travel for the weekend, or you got kids sports tournaments from Friday till Sunday night. It's like, what are you going to do? If you don't actually develop the skills here and make these deposits with the intuitive side of things, with these 2 meals per week, at some point, you're going to pay the piper and it's going to be hard. So you want to develop these skills as we go. So I look at it like we're getting objective-based, reliable skills from, the macro side. It's kind of driving that in a acute sense. And then long-term, we're we're basically leaving 2 slots each week to make these deposits to be like, okay, down the road, this is going to help grow roots so that the results I'm getting now stick.